Hi guys, and welcome to my channel, and thanks for stopping by and watching. In this spray paint art video, I'll be trying out the MTN Water Based spray paint to see what it's like for spray paint art. So the MTN Water Based spray paint comes in a 300ml can and has a low pressure valve system. It also comes with an anti-clog stock cap. The lacquer base is water based resin. It has a matte finish and there are around 52 colours in the range. The price per can may vary depending on what country you live in. In the UK it costs around £6.5p a can, and the colours I'll be using are turquoise green, blue green deep, titanium white and carbon black. Right, before I go any further, I'd just like to say these are my own thoughts and findings about how well the MTN Water Based spray paint works for making spray paint art. Right, the first thing I'm going to do is a cap test to see how the cap sprays. So I'll be using the stock cap that comes with the cans in this video, which is an anti-clog cap, and I'll be doing the cap test on a 4-inch wide piece of glossy card. Right then, before you use the cans, make sure you give them a good shake for at least 2 minutes each. And when you get them, there'll be a plastic cap on them like this. This is only there to protect the cap so it doesn't spray everywhere while in transit. So I'll be doing the cap test with the black spray paint. So when you receive them, just take the cap off like that. Just place that to one side. This is the second time using some water-based paint. This is the first time using the MTN water-based paint. So I'll just pull some paint through to the cap. Just remember to give these a good shake before you start. And I'll be doing a cap test on this piece of glossy card here. So as you can see there, the cap produced a nice thin line there, about 1–1.5 inches wide, and didn't let too much paint out, which is good. So I'll just move this one out of the way and give you a closer look of the line it produced. So I'll sit that back there. Now the cap test is out of the way, I'm going to see what it's like to paint with. So for this space painting I'll be using glossy card, which is A2 in size. And the materials I'll be using are some lid stencils. These are just lids off food tubs, different sizes. I'm going to be using a metal paint scraper. I'm going to be using a palette knife to sign the painting with at the end. I'm going to be using this food tub, which is a cone shaped tub. And all I've done is put a hole in the bottom. And also I'll be using some plastic sheets. These are from a bag that I've cut up so it's easier to use. These will be for making the texture in the painting on your planets and in the background. So the first thing we'll do is do the planet. So we'll get the lid stencils and place the lids on the sheet where you want your planets. So I'm going to have one there, one here, one there, one there I think, something like that. And I'll get the turquoise first, pull some paint through. And what we'll do first is just spray around the lid stencils to give you an outline of where your planets are going. See what the cap's like. Not too bad, seems to be spitting a bit. A bit of a build up on the cap. Seems to be alright. Quite like that valve system, nice and easy to press. The cap seems to be alright. There's an odd spitting issue here at the moment, but we'll see what it's like during the painting. So now we have the outlines done for the planet, we'll take the lid stencils back off for now, place them to one side. So now what we're going to do is fill the outlines in with some colours. So first, get the turquoise. Got a nice even coat of paint, doesn't come out too much. So now we'll get the blue-green deep, pull some paint through. A bit more turquoise over the top. And now we'll get the black and white. Yeah, I quite like this valve system. Pull the white through. Press it light and not much comes out, which is good. There is a bit of spitting on the white. Right, so we'll get the material we're going to use to make a texture with. Like I said, I'm going to be using a plastic bag that I've cut up. Crunch it up a bit to make some lines in your material to make the texture. So place it over the top, give it a light rub. Now we'll pull it off to make your texture. So I quite like that texture, so I'm going to leave it like that. So now we're going to add the highlights and shadows to this planet here. So we'll get the white for the highlight. And what we're going to do is mist it. So see what it's like for misting. Not too bad, I quite like that. Now we'll get the black and do the shadowed area here. There's a bit of spitting off the cans here and there, the black, but not too much. So now we'll move on to these other planets here. So we'll get the colours. Turquoise first. And then the other one. Now the black. Black seems to be spitting a bit. And a bit too much paint come out, but I pressed the cap down a bit too much. Can you see here where the lighter colour separating from the colour underneath? That's because there's too much paint down. Right, now the white. Might just add a bit more black here. So we'll get the bag we're going to use. The material, I'm just going to crunch it up to give you some lines on it to make your texture on the planet. So just place it over the top where you want your texture. So give it a light rub. And then pull it off to make your texture. You can always go back over it. So I like that texture, so I'm going to leave that like that. Now we'll add the highlights and shadows to it. So the highlights first here. Yeah, you have to press the cap down real lightly for it to give it a good nice mist. So now the shadowed side. So that's your highlights and shadows done on that planet. So I'll move on to this one here. So again, get some colours. So you press it down real hard and quite a lot of paint comes out in one spot. When you're doing these planets, you want to spray the caps a bit lighter so you don't get a build up of paint. That way the paint won't separate. So just press the cap lightly for this one. Then add some white. because you're in a small spot, the paint will pool more. So I'll do for that. So I'll get another sheet. Bit of plastic, bit of cut up, and what I'm going to do for this one, just fold it in half. I'm just going to turn it. As you can see here, see the blues come back through the black. That's because there's too much paint there in one spot, so it's pulled it away, separated kind of thing. I've been asked about that a few times, questioned about it. So as you can see there, this is what I'm on about when you're putting too much paint down, but it separates. So I'll get a plastic bag, fold it in half, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this around a bit. You can always go again, turn it. So I like the texture on that one, so I'm going to leave that one. So go back to the white to do the highlight first. So we're just going to do a mist. And then to the black for the back, the shadowed area. Now we'll move on to a smaller planet here. So a bit of green. I'll press the cap down pretty light here, so I don't get a pool in the paint. I'll go a bit of black first at the back, and a bit of white. A bit more black over there, and a bit of white. Right, get the material we're going to use for texture. Punch it up a bit. This paint here, when you're doing smaller areas, and as you can see, it's splattered on this planet here a bit of a white, bit of overspray, bit of splatter off the caps. This paint seems to, when you get into a smaller area, seems to pool a lot. So we'll just do some texture on this one. You can go over it again if you want. Just pull some paint off, change texture a bit. So what I'm going to do with this one, the one where it's splattered a bit of paint on, just going to get another sheet, I think. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it a bit more. I did like the way it turned out, but just get rid of a bit of that white. Yeah, so as you can see, I took the splatter, the white splatter off his planet now. So we can just go back and do the highlights and shadows just lightly on it. Well, I think I'll do for the planet, so got to do the highlight and shadow on this one. So just a bit of black on the back. And what you can do, if the planets are too close and the cans are spitting a bit like it did there, you can get, like, I can use this here, a piece of card. And what you can do is you can put it like that to stop any overspray going onto another planet. And then I'll just add the highlight to it, there. And then that stops any overspray going onto the other planet. So now the highlights and shadows are all on the planet, it's time to put the lid stencils back on. But before I do that, can you see on this planet here, where the paint is like kind of separating, but it's giving a nice effect, like cells in the paint. It's quite a nice effect, that is. I quite like that. If you saw the previous video where I was using the water-based paint from a different brand for the first time, and I mentioned about the paper crinkling up a bit, like creasing, This one's done the same, so I think it's down to a water-based formula soaking into the sheet, because I've got a bit of a crinkle here and there's one coming here. So hopefully no more will come during the painting. We'll just have to see. So now we've added all the highlights and shadows to the planet, it's time to put the lid stencils back on. But ideally you want the paint to be dry before doing this. This way the lid stencils don't dig into your paint and leave rings on your planets when you take the lids back off later. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and place the lid stencils on while the paint is wet. So the paint looks really wet still. Quite wet. This big planet looks wet. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and place the lid stencils on while the paint's still wet. So make sure you've got a bit of a shadowed area in the highlighted area under your lid stencil. So I'm going to have that one there. I'm going to have that one there. I'm going to have that one there. And then that one there. So the lids aren't sitting as flush on the sheet here because the crinkles in the paper. If the paint was dry before placing the lid stencil on, you could put some weight on these so it'd push the lids down further. But the paint has to be dry if you're going to do that, because the more weight you put on this, the more the lids will dig into the paint if it's wet. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm just going to have to hold these down slightly as I'm doing the background. So we'll move on to the background now. So we'll get the black. We'll just spray lightly around these lid stencils first. So like I said, I'm just going to have to push these down a bit. These are going to leave rings in the planets, I think. So I'll just spray lightly around the lid stencil. Same as this one. This one's a bit high. And if the lids aren't flush as well, you'll get some leaking underneath. The overspray will go underneath the lid stencil onto your planet. We'll move on to this one. Right, so there all the lid stencils gone round now. So what I might do now is add some colours to the background, I think. So get the lighter green first. I think I'll put some up here. So it comes out pretty thick if you press it all the way down. I think I might put a bit here as well. I'll get the other colour. I'll get the other colour, the blue green deep. Spray a bit on there. So you press the cap down real hard, quite a lot of paint comes out. So now we'll use the white. The white line through it, I think. Now with the black. Just go over it with the black. And then this one. Just going to press this one a bit lighter, I think, on this side. Yeah, the caps, when you press them down all the way, do let quite a bit of paint out. And as you can see here, can you see the paint separating? What I'll do, get another plastic sheet. Just make some texture on this. So I'll do this one first. Crunch it up a bit. Your line. Just the same way as making texture on your planet. Place it on, give it a light rub. Might just go around the outsides a bit. Get a bit more of this darker blue. So I like the way that looks, so I'm going to leave that like that. And then the same on the other side. Crunch your paper up, or your material, whatever you're using, and place it over top to make some texture. Light rub. A bit more here. So I like them too. I think I might just add a bit more here, I think. So we'll get the lighter one first. And the darker one. Spray your caps a bit lighter to see if anything happens. If it starts separating again. So now I might just add a bit of white to it. Now with the black we'll cover it over. Just press the cap down lightly for this one, see if it separates. See, it's still separating, so the cap's producing quite a lot of paint out. Which at the beginning I didn't think it was, but as I'm getting further and further on in the painting, seems to, you have to be real light on the cap. Because if you're hard, if you press it down quite hard, like halfway down, it does let quite a lot of paint out, and as you can see, the paint is separating. So we'll get the plastic again, or the material you're using to make the texture, and just place it over the top. So I'm just going to press down and then pull it off. Like I said, you can go back over it again in places, do some texture. So I like that, so I'm going to leave that like that. So now I'm going to fill the rest of the background with black. Be a bit careful when you go next to the lids and then the texture we've already made. May just take a bit of time to get used to the pressure and the caps on these cans. Like anything, when you try something for the first time, you just got to get used to it. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. Right, so I like that, the black's on. I like the bits in the background, like the galaxies, the colours and that. And this one seems to still be separating, so it's like forming like cells and that in the paint, which I quite like that effect, to be honest. So now I'll get the blue-green deep. What I'm going to do is just going to try and fade a bit back into the black, like a bit of a mist. So, see that top one there. Pull some of the paint through. Just going to give the cap a bit of a clean, bit of a build-up of paint on there. So, clean that off. And like I said, I'm just going to do a quick mist here, see what it's like. Like I said, there's no rush when you're doing things, just take your time and enjoy while you're painting. It's your painting, you can put anything in it, any design, anything you want in the background, it's up to you. So I'm just going to clean this one off as well. Bit of paint on it over the nozzle. Might add a bit of this green as well into it. See what that's like. Bit round this big one, I think. I'll put a bit behind the back of this planet as well. Now we have a colours for the background, we can go back and tidy it up with the black. Like I said, there's no rush, so just press the cap down lightly. There's a spitting out of the cap here, but I think that's just because there's a bit of a build up of paint. So I'll go and wipe that one off. So as you can see, the cap's clean again there, the nozzle. So I like the way that looks. So I'm going to leave the background like that. So now I'm going to move on to and add some small stars to the painting using the white. And all we're going to do is spray onto our fingers there. So like that. So what you want to do after you spray it on your fingers, you want to flick it away from the painting a few times so you haven't got a load of paint on your fingers, and then flick it onto your sheet. So spray it on your fingers, flick it a couple of times off your fingers, and then flick the rest onto a sheet. So you can add as many stars as you want to your painting, it's up to you. And a couple more down here. Some there. I think I'll do it like that. That's enough stars. So now what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put a star here in the middle. Somewhere here. A big star using a paint scraper. So we'll get the metal paint scraper and the white spray paint. Like I said, I'm going to be putting a star here. So when we do a star, we're going to spray the white paint onto the scraper here. So the overspray is going to make the lines for the stars. So I'm going to have to press this cap down lightly because I think a lot of paint's going to come out and pool on here. And you don't want it falling off there and dropping onto your painting, because it'll leave like big white blobs on it. So let's give it a go. So I'll put it here, I think. So spray it. Now we're going to move it away. So then you see the white there. If we sprayed it again, it'd have dropped off onto the painting and left a pool of white paint where it dropped off. So just keep wiping your scraper off. If you get a lot of paint coming out of your caps, this way you won't get anything dripping onto your painting. Takes a bit longer doing it that way, but I'd rather take a bit longer time doing something than messing the painting up. And this water-based paint seems to bubble as well a bit, like fizz. I don't know whether you can see it, fizzing or not. That must be the formula, the water-based formula that they use. Because the other water-based paint that I tried did a bit of bubbling like that as well, fizzing, bubbling. So we have the lines for the stars. What you could do is you could extend these to be a bit bigger. So I think I might just extend these. So like I said, there's no rush. So I'm just going to get a scraper. Well, now you only want to spray it once or twice when you're doing these lines. You don't want to put too much paint down. So like I said, I'm wiping this scraper every time because I don't want anything dropping onto the painting. Any white dots off the scraper. And when you're doing this, you want to press the cap down pretty light. Yeah, it takes a bit longer, but if you're enjoying painting, alright, so we'll do this last one here. So I think what I'll do, as you can see, the lines are a bit longer now. Just take your time and enjoy what you're painting. So now we're going to put a white centre in the middle. So I'm just going to try to see what the white paint's like when it comes out to do a dot. Because I don't want it too big there and cover half the sheet up with white paint. Big white dot in the middle. Covers all the lines. So I'll just try it on here to see what it's like. So I think it's going to produce too big of a line, I think. Too big of a white spot. Quite a bit of splattering as well off that cap. So I'll just give it a wipe. Try it again. Alright, one more, let's see. Well, I think I'm just going to try it with the cap, see what it's like. Press the cap real lightly. So that weren't quite in the middle, but it didn't produce a real big white dot there. So quite like that. You could go back and add white to these lines, whiten them up more so it fits in with the star. I think I might just do that, to be honest. So just quickly go around them. Just these three here at the bottom. Cap seems to be splattering a lot here. As you can see, quite a few splatters, but they look like stars. Bunch of stars around a big star. So I'll do for a big star. So now the big star's done, we're going to move on and use this cone-shaped food tub with the hole in the middle. We're just going to put some bigger stars than the ones you flicked with your fingers, but smaller than the big star here. So we'll get the white spray paint, and all we're going to do is we're just going to spray the white through the cone-shaped object onto the painting to produce some stars. So what we want to do is just hold it above your painting where you want your star, and we're just going to spray the white through it. So I'll have one there. The closer you are to the painting, the smaller the star that it produces. So I'll do one here, close. So you got there. And then I'll do one up here, a bit further away, so you make a bigger one. You can also add coloured stars to the painting. So give a turquoise colour, and I'll put one here. That's come out a bit more of a bigger star, but if you want, you can get your white, and we'll just put a white in the middle like that, so it looks like it's a glowing coloured star. And to get the other colour, I'll just put one here, I think. Then we can do the same with the white. Just grab the white, I think I might just add a couple more. I had one here. And one up here. One there. Right, so there are all the stars added to the painting. So now it's time to lift the lid stencils back off. Like I said, when I put the lid stencils on, the paint seemed to be quite wet, and then they had these creases in the painting, so the stencils weren't sitting flush onto the painting. So we'll see what they're like when we lift them off. But as you can see, the painting, the glossy card seems to be creasing a bit more now. Bit of crease there, this is still there, this is creasing up a bit. There's a crease here and one here, so that must be the formula in the paint. Doesn't work very well with this glossy card. So we'll lift the lid stencils off. So I'll do this one first, this small one. So it is slightly stuck a bit, so I'll lift it off. Yeah, that was stuck. I haven't got much overspray come under the lid, that one, but you can see where the lid's stuck a bit to the wet paint here. So I'll move on to this one now. That one isn't as stuck. We've got no overspray underneath the lid. This one's a bit more stuck. Just take your time if they're stuck. That one's really stuck on. So I'm going to have to get the palette knife. I'm just going to hold the sheet down a bit. Right. So that one was pretty stuck, that one was. And as you can see there, you've got the ring where the lid dug into the paint there. This is what I mean with the paint being wet and you put your lid stencils on, it'll leave these rings here. So now we'll move on to this big one. This one might be stuck as well. Yeah, this one's stuck. So just take your time if they're stuck, because the background's still going to be wet, remember. So right, so take your time. Stick them out of the way. So that one's stuck, and as you can see about what I mean about the leaking underneath the lid stencils, the overspray going underneath, it's just slightly gone under here on here. See it? But that's not too bad. I was expecting some overspray to go underneath because the way the card had creased itself. But I quite like these planets, I like the texture on them. I quite like this, like dots in this planet, like cells in it. Quite nice effect. This one's got some as well. I like the effect that is produced. Not meant to, that's because there's too much paint down and the paint's separated, but it's left a cool pattern on it. Quite like that. Quite like the texture on these other planets as well. And as you saw, as I said, you can see a bit where the lid stencils stuck in places, like this one here. But like I said earlier, to avoid this, all you have to do is put the lid stencils on when the paint's dry, and then this will eliminate all this, all the lid, all the rings on the planet and the lid sticking. And also you could put weights on it to stop this overspray coming underneath your lids. But no, I'm quite happy with the way that's turned out. I was expecting more overspray on all these planets. I quite like how the big stars turned out, even though I never hit it dead in the centre. Still turned out nice. I like the lines on it. I like the colours in the background. I like the colours on the planet, nice and bright. So that's the painting finish. So the last thing we're going to do is sign a painting with the palette knife. So I think I'm going to sign it over here. So the paint is a bit dry here in this corner here, so it hasn't dug into the paint all the way, so you can't really see signature. What you could do is go back over it and try and do it again and dig in a bit deeper, but then sometimes it mucks it up, the painting. So you could do that, or if the paint is too dry or anything, you can always get a paint pen, a white marker pen, something like that. I'm not sure whether you can see it because of the light coming through. Something like that, and then you can just sign it with that. So that's a painting signed, and I'm not sure whether you can see on the video these creases in the painting. There's one across the back here, one on the by the planet, one across in, there's one here. This could be the water-based formula soaking into the glossy card, and then it's leaving these creases in it. You know, like if you get some water and you put it on some paper and it does creases in it, that's done the same as this here. So I think these water-based paints may work better on a canvas or something like that, because the last one I tried, the last water-based spray paint I tried, the other brand did the same, did the creases in it, and that's been dried now for about 2-3 days. For some of the crinkles have dropped out, but it's still in there, you can still see the crinkles. So I think next time I use a water-based paint, I think I'm going to be doing it on a canvas or something like that, the one that won't soak the formula up. So I think the MTN Water Based worked well for spray paint art. The anti-clog cap that came with the can worked well. It did let a bit too much paint out at times, especially spraying in a smaller area like the planets. But with a bit of practice with the cap, you'll learn how far to press the cap down without releasing a lot of paint. And also, if there was too much paint around a nozzle on the cap, it started to spit a bit. But after cleaning it off, they stopped spitting. If I was going to use the MTN Water Based for spray paint art, I would use a skinny cap on the cans. The reason for that is it would let less paint out when painting in a smaller area, and would lower the chance of the paint separating like you saw in this video. The paint also dried pretty fast, which can be a good thing. The low pressure valve system gave a good control over how much paint came out when pressing the cap down with different pressures. It may just take a bit of practice getting used to the pressure and how far to press the cap down when doing different things. But overall I enjoyed painting with the MTN Water Based spray paint. The only things I would say is, the cans cost a bit more than other brands of spray paint, and it only comes in a 300ml can. I'm not sure why that is, as every other brand of spray paint comes in a 400ml can. If any of you know why, let me know in the comments. Also, the other thing I do different next time I painted with the MTN Water Based spray paint is to paint on a canvas. As with it being a water-based formula, it seemed to soak into the gloss paper and left like ripples, crinkles in the paper. But apart from that, I like how the painting has turned out. I found it nice to use and the colours I chose were nice and bright. And also, just remember to take your time, enjoy while you're painting, and let each layer stage dry before moving on to the next. Right then, I'll give you a closer look of the painting. Yeah, the bottom of this is wet, really wet. So I think it is the formula that's soaked through into the paper, into the glossy card. So I hope you found the information in this video helpful and enjoyed watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for stopping by and watching. I hope to see you all in the next spray paint art video. Have a great day, take care, and bye for now.